In this video, we're going to be talking about reviewing order of operations so that we can start practicing substituting for a variable in an expression. So that you can substitute for a variable and simplify expressions. And you'll know that you've understood the learning target when you can correctly simplify an expression. Before we move on to substitution, we need to go back to reviewing order of operations. So the P in order of operations stands for parentheses. The E is exponents. So remember those little numbers up in the corner, that's an exponent. And then we have multiplication and division. And these two go together and we move left to right throughout the problem. And last but not least, we have addition and subtraction. And again, these two go together and move left to right within the problem. So what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to pause this video and attempt this problem. 7 minus 3 parentheses 2 plus 16 divided by 4, and then come back and play, and you can see if you did it in the same way that I did. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do within this problem is we are going to write, I like to write PEMDAS along the side so that I can go through and I can make sure that I am going through each of these steps and making sure I'm doing them in the right order. All right, so first is parentheses. Now, there is a parentheses around this too, but there's nothing to do inside of the parentheses, so we don't count that. I don't see any exponents, so I'm moving on to multiplication and division. Now, I know that when a number is next to a parentheses, it means multiplication. And then we have this 16 divided by 4 here, and so we have division. Now, remember, we start at the left and we walk through our problem. The first one I come to is going to be multiplication, so that means I'm doing this first. 3 times 2 is 6. What I'll do then is I will go back to the original problem and I will just copy the rest of this down so that we can keep working through the problem. Okay, next we're going to go then to this 16 divided by 4 because that was our other part in this first step. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. Okay. And again, I'm going to go back and I am going to bring the rest of the problem down. And now we no longer have multiplication and division, so I'm going to move on to addition and subtraction. Now, when you're left with addition and subtraction in your problem, you can just start at the left, do the first two. 7 minus 6 is 1, and then add your other number in. 1 plus 4 is 5. So when you simplify this problem, it becomes 5. All right, so let's talk about substitution now. When we are substituting for a variable, you are going to replace the variable with its given value. So think about it like a substitute teacher. If I'm here teaching this class, okay, let me fix that. If I'm here teaching this class and I'm sick, so I can't be there, what happens is I leave and then another teacher comes in my place to teach, okay? So they take me out and they replace me with another teacher. So that's exactly what we're doing here in this problem. So our problem is 2a plus 7, okay? But we know what a equals. Well, a equals 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the a and put in a 5. But before we do that, let's talk about a few things. When we have 2a, what this is really saying is either a plus a, because we have 2 a's, right? Or 2 times a. Now, I like to write it like this because then we can think back to the problem before when there's a number next to a parentheses or a number next to a variable, it means multiplication. So I like to go here and I like to put parentheses around my variables. What I can do now is I can say, okay, I'm going to rewrite my problem. But instead of writing the a, I'm going to take out the a and I'm going to write 5. So now what we get to do is we get to go through When we don't have any more variables in our problem, we get to go through and use PEMDAS or order of operations to simplify. Okay, awesome. I don't see any parentheses. We added in this, We added in this parentheses, but there's nothing inside besides the 5. So we're not going to do that. There's no exponents. I know that when there's a number next to a parentheses or a number next to a variable, it means multiplication. So I'm going to do 2 times 5 is 10. And then we're going to add 7. Well, 10 plus 7 is 17. So when we simplify 2a plus 7, when a equals 5, we get 17. Okay, so let's go through a couple more problems together so that we can make sure we're doing this correctly before you work on your own. Now this problem, parentheses b plus 9 minus 3c has 2 variables. Okay, so I'm going to write this and I'm going to put, instead of writing b, I am going to say b equals 8. So I'm going to say 8 plus 9 minus 3. Now, when I have a number next to a variable, I like to put the variable in parentheses. And then instead of writing c, I'm going to write 4. So now I have no more variables. So what I can do now is I can write PEMDAS along the side, and then I can simplify. If you would like to pause this video and try it on your own, awesome. If you're not ready for that step yet, just work through it with me. So parentheses. Now here we have parentheses. Okay, I have parentheses and I have 8 plus 9 inside, so I have to do that before I can move on. 8 plus 9 is 17. Bring the rest of the problem down, minus 3 parentheses 4. Okay, so we did our parentheses, awesome. There's no exponents. So now I'm going to move on to multiplication and division. I know that when there's a number next to a parentheses or a variable, it means multiplication. So I'm going to multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. Bring down the problem. 17 minus 12 is 5. So when you simplify, you get 5. All right, this problem is a little bit different because we have 2 variables and they're right next to each other. I like to think of this as I'm going to take this 5. I know that m equals 5. So I'm going to take that m and I'm going to take it away and put 5. This problem then becomes 5n plus 12. So what I can do is I can put my n in parentheses and then I can simplify or substitute 5 parentheses plus 12. Well, n equals 6, so I'm going to put a 6 here. Okay. The biggest misconception I see is people putting the 5 and the 6 next to each other without realizing that it means multiplication. This does not equal 56. I will say that again. This does not equal 56. What we have to do is then we have to go use PEMDAS to figure out what this simplifies to. So we don't have any parentheses, we don't have any exponents, but we do have multiplication. I know when a number is next to a parentheses or a number is next to a variable, it means multiplication. 5 times 6 is 30. Then we are going to add 12. 30 plus 12 is 42. So I'll say it again. MN next to each other does not mean the 5 and the 6 just go together to make 56. It means M times N or 5 times 6. Okay, for this problem, I really do want you to pause this video and I want you to try it on your own. 16 plus 3v divided by 2 minus 4 when v equals 10. Okay, so pause it on your own right now and then come back to it when you're done. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to go through this problem on your own and have an answer, and then you can check your work with mine. 16 plus 3. Now remember, I like to do my parentheses around my variable when it's next to a number. Divided by 2 minus 4. Okay, when v equals 10. Okay, so all I did was I took out my variable and I put in my value. I'm going to write my PEMDAS off to the side, and I am going to simplify. Okay, I don't see any parentheses besides the one I put in with the 10, and I don't see any exponents. So we jump right down to multiplication and division. So when there's a number next to a parentheses, it means multiplication. We also have 10 divided by 2. So we have multiplication and we have division, but I'm going to start at the left and walk to the right, and I run into multiplication first. So this one comes first. 3 times 10 is 30. I'm going to bring the rest of my problem down, and then I'm going to keep simplifying. Okay, so again, I know that I have to do this division part next because that was in that first step too. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Bring the problem down. You have 16 plus 15 minus 4. So now, luckily, we have just addition and subtraction left. So now we can go to, we can just start at the left and go to the right. Here, we're going to go 16 plus 15 is 31 minus 4. 31 minus 4 is 27. Okay, so when you simplify, you should have gotten 27. If you did not get 27, look for where your mistake was. Remember, when we make mistakes, it helps clarify and learn so that next time we don't make that same mistake. Okay, so our learning target today was I can substitute for a variable and simplify expressions. Remember that when you substitute, you replace a variable with its given value. So you're taking out that variable and you're putting the value into the expression. And make sure you use PEMDAS. If you are not using the order of operations, you will not get the correct answer. The order matters. All right, so I would like you to spend about 10, maybe 15 minutes on IXL working on evaluating multivariable expressions. And then on Schoology, there is a 4.4 substitution exit slip that I'd like you to work on, and it is due, and the due date is on Schoology. Let me know if you have any questions.